I know I'm only 4 years old, but I still have the potential to do something. What can I do for them? I will also plant 1 lakh trees. And I was only 6 years old, started raising funds. I would go in different campaigns and events and fundraising and selling paper pencil, bookmark, grow kit.
Fear is just in motion. And I guess when we look at the fear, when we don't let it consume us, but then actually look at it and ask, okay, what are you?
How I represented young people at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, not once but thrice. My NGO, which is Prasiddhi Forest Foundation, got accredited with the UN. I launched my first book at COP29, this illustrated storybook, the first lady of Brazil, and literally giving the copy of this book to her, interviewing the United Nations General Assembly President, a lot of incredible people. We have a requirement of 1.3 trillion funding if we want to mitigate the climate crisis.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Tiki Toro podcast where we celebrate kids and teens who follow their passion and make it something meaningful for themselves and for the world around. So today's guest didn't wait to grow up to make an impact. She started when at an age when we would just go to school and play and just have fun, she started doing something. She started rebuilding what nature lost. From planting trees to building forests, from taking one small idea, she has created a movement that has gone across India and around the world. This is not just a story of passion, this is a story of responsibility. And today's guest is actually someone I greatly admire and who has been inspiring me for several years now. She's a guest whom I've been following for, I think, about 7-8 years. And she's a huge inspiration. I'm really thrilled and honored to have our guest here today, Prasiddhi. Thank you so much for coming. It's really, I'm just so excited to have you here at Tiki Toro's podcast.
No, thank you for inviting me over here. It is a pleasure to be in this beautiful forum and especially, get associated with the beautiful vision you have through Tiki Toro, through Tiki Tribe. After all, as a young person, it matters so much to me what we put on our skin and what we put in our soil, and it's a pleasure to be over here.
Thank you so much. So Prasiddhi, just let's. I have to tell you because as I told in the introduction that I've been following you for like your journey for 6-7 years about.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
Now I am 13 years old.
So 13. So when did you start this?
I started at an incredibly young age. I'm still young, only 13. Exactly. But Gen Alpha. But from always, nature has been my biggest source of inspiration, from always, whether it was spending time with the trees or with the butterflies and just enjoying myself, learning from nature. But at the age of 4 in 2016, I live in Chengalpattu near Chennai, which is also relatively on the coast. So when I saw in 2016 Varda cyclone hitting the shore of Tamil Nadu at the age of 4 only, trees getting uprooted, road flooded, birds, squirrel, monkey, everyone is, running, flying, jumping for shelter. That feeling that your green friends, they are being hurt, and this was happening the next day when I went and all of the destruction was there. Somehow deep inside I had this feeling, what can I do for them? I know I'm only 4 years old, but I still have the potential to do something. What can I do for them? And somehow that was a very triggering point for me that led me to doing the work that I do today.
I can't even comprehend that at 4. Because I've seen, I've been a 4-year-old too, and as most 4-year-olds, seeing such devastation
Yes.
around and Varda was really intense. I
Yes,
remember, like
yes.
everything was flooded, and so many trees we lost, and we would have been so scared. And even as an adult, then I was quite scared
Of course.
and worried.
Yeah.
But for a 4-year-old to take that fear, to take that exposure, because that would have been the first time you would have even experienced a cyclone.
Yes. Yes.
And to take that
Cyclone at that magnitude.
Yes, exactly. And that magnitude, and to take that and to have that thought to say, what can I do from it? It's it's amazing. I mean, hats off to you. I mean, that's why I mean I am very, very inspired by you, and this is like a fangirl moment for me.
Oh.
And seriously, at 4 for you to think, so what did you do after the court case?
Yes. So, what did you do? I really love when somebody asks that question because I'm a person of action. I have to do something, right? I can't just speak about it or be still about it. I have to do something. And I started participating in tree plantation drives happening in my locality. It started off as going in some of the local drives because the government was also doing these restoration activities after the cyclone. So some of the drives that were happening on the weekends, but gradually I saw this as my way of giving it back to Mother Nature. And from a few kilometers far, it became going 20, 30, 50, 60 kilometers far just to be a part of a tree plantation drive. Constantly going, learning from experts because I didn't know anything. We were learning what germination is at that time. So, learning how to plant a tree, what is germination, what is nursery creation, up to learning from experts about monoculture, indigenous trees, native trees, soil quality, learning traditional techniques from farmers, using the coconut husks or how to maintain the saplings and doing it myself. Doing it myself constantly, obviously that experience of getting your hands dirty in the soil. So from the age of 4 until the age of 6 till 2018 for 2 years I just went and I did it and I participated. And at the age of 6, actually, these drives they were about to come to a conclusion because it had been 2 years and it was the whole drive was planned for 1 lakh trees, 100,000 trees. And I heard this somewhere and I was sad that why are you ending the drive and I want to continue to plant more trees. So I went and I said, I will also plant 1 lakh trees. And I was only 6 years old, but everyone knew me because I came regularly. I was always a part of almost all the tree plantation drives. So this person comes up to me and says, or bends down and says, Prasiddhi, do you even know how many zeros are there in 1 lakh that you want to plant so many trees? And I understood, he thinks that I'm small, right? So I said, there are 2 in 100, 3 in 1,000, 4 in 10,000, 5 in 1 lakh. And I know you think I'm small, but the way a small candle can light up the entire room, similarly, I feel I can also light up the entire planet through my small efforts. But that was all good to say. Now it was also time to get into the work. And as a 6-year-old, the first thing I had to figure out was the answers to a lot of questions. Where will I plant? What will I plant? Who will look after it? I also had a very big discovery that it takes money to plant the trees. That it takes money to buy the saplings, which is true, right? The funding, the tangible side of getting work done. And I'm sure who better than you knows, when you have a vision, implementing that is a whole other story. And it was more challenging because I was a young girl, only 6 years old. So I figured out that I wanted to do it in rural schools because I wanted that children they can look after the trees and they are also able to learn, students, fellow students are able to learn about this. And in rural schools and government schools, they have more space than private schools, so that was also more achievable, more possible. But when I started going, right, just imagine a 6-year-old girl talking to these people, these schools, and telling them about my idea. And from one school to another, it just kept going. A lot of schools, and everyone would be, hey, this is so inspiring, or this is so interesting. But no one was taking action. And sometimes inspiring becomes annoying. I want to get into the field. But I kept going, and finally, one person agreed to do the tree plantation. And he said, sure, go ahead, on the land if you want to try. He was skeptical, but I convinced him. But I had only found the land. It was also now time for the sapling. So I started raising funds. I would go in different campaigns and events and fundraising and selling paper pencil, bookmark, grow kit, in lot of events also selling my paintings through an initiative called Art for Trees, where with paintings related to nature I would say buy the paintings and I'll raise funds. I still do that. But at that time that land was the plantation was planned for 500 trees, my first plantation, and I couldn't raise enough funds to plant only 500 trees. How would I plant 1 lakh trees?
Yeah.
That time I was seriously questioning myself. But I've always been a believer that sometimes when challenges come and you don't see a clear path, you should make your own path. I wrote down where was the money going, and obviously it was going mostly in procuring the saplings. So I figured out that anyways I want to plant fruit trees because I wanted to create fruit forests. I'll tell you later why, but I wanted to create fruit forest. So what does it take to grow a sapling? Eat the fruit, save the seeds, dry them and plant them. So I went door to door to different homes. I would say the same thing. Eat the fruit, save the seeds, dry them, give it to me. And from those seeds I created a small community nursery. It required more patience, but looking after it, and also survival rate, because when you grow from a seed the chances of it growing decreases. But the patience, and gradually community nursery, I grew my saplings and I did my first tree plantation. And that's how it really started, from that one tree plantation to working with a lot more rural schools, gradually with farmers, with villagers, with panchayats, with local authority. And now at 13, having have planted more than 200,000 trees in 125 places.
Wonderful.
2 lakh trees.
2 lakh trees.
Yes.
From that 1 lakh what you had, you've now made it to 2
Yes.
lakhs. And
Yes.
I know you have a mission to take it to
10 million.
10 million trees.
Yes.
Yes. Before 10 million trees, I want to break it down because uh, I want to talk more about the 10 million trees that you have, the vision and the mission to plant 10 million trees. Before that, I want to go back to what you had already shared. Because for me, and for the children out there, and for the parents out there, to understand that a 4-year-old took action and started traveling, say, from neighborhood to 10 kilometers, 20, 30, 40, 50. I want to understand what were your parents' reactions and how did they do it? Because for to take a 4-year-old around all over the place, I mean, all through to get the, to plant trees and to help plant trees, I'm sure they were very proud, but that also required a lot of time, commitment,
Yes.
energy from your parents. So, what did your parents, how did it go with your parents, the whole conversation?
Uh, so honestly, from always, my parents have been my biggest backbone. I mean, they are for every child, they are. But the biggest thing that they did for me was they never said no, or rather, I'll say they always said yes, no matter how crazy my ideas were. I mean, imagine going back home and saying, I want to plant 1 lakh trees.
Yeah.
At this point of time, there can be a range of reactions from the parents. But they said, okay, you want to plant 1 lakh trees, go ahead, but what will you plant? Where will you get the money from? So they gave me questions, and instead of giving things in my plate, or instead of saying you can't do it, they let me figure it out myself. I think that has been the biggest thing from the beginning, whether it was even during the cyclone, where at this point of time after the cyclone, all I could think about was the trees and how terrible the destruction was. Constantly thinking about that, and my parents also saw that. So when they saw that there is something I found, I wanted to do that, a way of giving back, they were more than happy to support, and I was also consistent, and they stayed by my side.
I think this is one of the a great learning, the consistency, and the second one I think which many kids and teens out there, in fact even adults, um, would should take away from this is you can start making a difference even with that one tree that you plant.
Yes.
It doesn't
Yes.
have to be 100,000 or 10,000. um, to 2 lakhs, which you have already done, but even that one tree, and at age 4, you as a child went and started doing your bit into whatever tree plantation drive was going on.
Yes, honestly, I think it is so important that we understand that yes, impact is very important. I mean, when we want to make a difference, impact is integral. But what matters more than impact is the intention.
Yes.
Intention is so powerful. I've had the opportunity because of my work to go to a lot of places, give a lot of speeches, whether it is at UN in global forums or in schools, rurally or in some of the best schools across the globe, across India. And wherever I go, students are very motivated after my talk, and they're very happy after my talk, and they come and ask that how can I also do something like you, how can I be a part of it. And but they say that, we feel we are too young. We also had this idea. There was one of this students, I think she was in 10th or 11th, and she came and told me that I used to write these news articles, or yeah, I think it was news articles about various issues that our country is facing and what could people possibly do. Those were some very serious, opinionated articles, but I felt that it was making no difference. And I thought that, there are so many big news media houses. What would mine do? But then when she heard me talk about how important our voice is, how I represented young people at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, not once but thrice, she felt and she said that, I think that it matters how you start. Sometimes you don't see the direct result. Or when I go to schools, and over there, all the way, children are coming to be a part of a plantation drive. They go back home and they create their own mini forest, whether it is in their backyard, whether it is on their balcony. They grow plants in a few pots. I think that intention matters so much, and that intention is what gives me hope for our planet's future, for my generation's future.
Definitely, definitely. Because many times we don't take that step, even the first step forward, because of the fear.
Yeah.
One could be failure. The second could be our vision, the passion, or the mission that we are working towards could be so big that we might even start to question ourselves as to how am I going to achieve it. But your story and what you have done is actually like a framework, like a roadmap, like the example, the inspiration. I mean, I could use all the adjectives for it and all the
Thank you
words for
so
it, but
much.
that is what it is. Because to say a 4-year-old started with planting trees, going across and planting trees in other tree plantation drives, and at 6 for you to say, okay, wherever I was supporting, they completed because their whatever their vision, their what they had planned was done,
Yes.
and to say I can do more, and to start at that, and to take it like I would say one sapling at a time. For you, I think 500 saplings, and then take it to now at 13, you have done 2 lakh trees,
Yes.
and then going forward. This is this is a big life lesson. It is because for me, and as you said, a child, she heard you talk, and she
Yes.
said, okay, maybe not in tree plantation, but she had a voice, she had an opinion, she had, she was like feeling strongly about something, and that whatever that fear or the thought that okay, her voice didn't matter, held her back, but hearing you speak gave her the courage to take it forward. So, like this, I think for everyone out there, whatever their vision, their passion might be, taking that first step matters.
Yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't matter how small or how big it is. It doesn't, only that step by step, only you could reach that thing. There is no giant leap from here to the end goal.
Yeah,
The
of
whole
course.
process is a journey. It's a journey.
You need to go step by step, and somehow listening to all of these stories, whether it was this girl or a lot of other children. Whenever I go anywhere, even there was an internship that Prasiddhi Forest Foundation, for the past 6 years we have been conducting internships for college students, university students across different fields: design, art, medical, management, health. and connecting it to sustainability, connecting it to environment, green skills, which is clearly the future, even in a career perspective. Um, and one of them started his own green startup, right? Out of that, learned from it, started his own green startup. A lot of them identified new exciting pathways through this keeps me motivated to continue the work that I'm doing. So I think it is this chain cycle of how can we learn from each other and start with the smaller steps
Correct.
and build it into something bigger.
True, definitely. In fact, I think I saw you first when you were 6 or I think 7,
Mm-hmm.
because I saw you as this young kid who just walked, lost amongst when people like adults, grown up sitting, and then I saw you come up on stage. I was like, oh my god, I've been following you since, and yes, through our organizations, I mean, we've been part of Prasiddhi Forest Foundation, and
Yes.
we have planted trees, and that is something that I want to continue to support through too. But yeah, just taking that first step and seeing how confident you were then and to see you now, very very proud
Oh,
of you. Very
thank you so
inspired.
much.
So Prasandeep, so one thing you had, of course you've been going around giving your talks. You've been in to UN talking about environmental climate change. I want you to just talk about the various initiatives and talk about first time when you went to UN and addressed. How was it? How was the experience? And now you've been there thrice already.
Yeah.
So I just want you to just take us through your journey.
Sure. So the COP, which happens every year, last year in 2025, it was the 30th edition of the Conference of Party, the United Nations Climate Change Summit, which happens annually every year, brings together all the UN nations, and the idea is to have a multi-stakeholder meetup and to decide targets and goals, particularly the funding for climate initiatives as in climate targets of countries basically. Um, and it is so important that amongst the world leaders who are present over there, heads of state who are present at these conferences, media and NGOs, young people's voices are equally represented, because it is these children and young people who will inherit this planet.
Correct.
And the mistakes that has been created before, also the solutions which have been built, we are the ones who will harness them.
Correct.
And that is why I feel it's incredibly important to be on the table. My first one was when I was 10 years old, and COP is held every year in different locations. So that year was COP 28 in Dubai, and I was the youngest delegate present over there, speaking alongside the head of United Nations General Assembly at the conference, meeting a lot of people, sharing about my initiative. The second time was COP 29 in Baku, where my NGO, which is Prasiddhi Forest Foundation, got accredited with the UN. So now we can take young people or other people to the United Nations Climate Change Conference, because this is a very restricted zone, obviously, for policymakers and for people who are in this field. So giving more people the chance to be a part of these conversations. So I was the youngest head of delegation, and I was also appointed the official impact maker for COP30 for the next year for Brazil. I launched my first book at COP29, this illustrated storybook about the Amazon rainforest. And yes, I launched it with the Ministry of Tourism of Brazil. So yeah, this is the Minister of Tourism of Brazil and the former President of Ireland, a lot of content creators in the field of environment, Sadhguru, and different people, a lot of different people with whom I launched the book. And this book is very special,
Yeah.
because for each book bought, I plant one tree. And more importantly, it's illustrated, so for young people or for the inner child that we all have, to learn about this very important landscape, this very important ecosystem,
Correct.
the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. So COP29 was very special. And then there was COP30, the most recent one last year in Brazil, where I was again the youngest head of delegation, but I also had very meaningful dialogues and interview podcasts with a lot of interesting people. The former director of the United Nations climate change, the head of United Nations Environmental Program UNEP, the governor of California, interviewing the first lady of Brazil and
Wow.
literally giving the copy of this book to her,
Yeah.
interviewing the United Nations General Assembly president, a lot of incredible people, and getting to know what they think about this mission, economists, environmentalists, and how important it is for young people to be included.
Yeah.
And also launching my second book,
Yes.
which is about the Great Barrier Reef with the Australian government at their pavilion at the UN Climate Conference. And for this as well, for every book bought, I plant one tree. And it's a very beautiful journey. I think we all read so many books and stories or watch now, which is more popular.
Yeah.
But amongst the fairy tale stories and superhero stories, what if we could make nature more interesting, like an adventure? And that was the whole idea. But otherwise, at these conferences, beyond having my NGO representation of young people, also being a part of very important critical discussions, whether it is on adaptation of climate, the negotiations that are taking place, the targets that they are setting. Because to give you a perspective, for Global South, which is where most of the climate disasters are occurring, we have a requirement of 1.3 trillion funding if we want to mitigate the climate crisis.
$1.3 trillion.
Yes, dollars, which is huge, which is a very big magnitude. And it is important that our work at these places goes as fast. People tell me sometimes it feels so slow. As a young person, how do you feel in these places? And it does feel slow, but just because it's slow, it doesn't mean that we lose our hope. Because then we go from a 10% rate and speed to 0%, which is worse.
Correct.
Which is why I am trying to be more aggressively part of these critical conversations.
Definitely, because for a layperson, especially like us, who are not part of the thing, but we watch it from outside.
Yes.
Because we hear about the conversations and everything happening, but then to actually visibly see the impact,
The action, absolutely.
and to say what action that are they taking, the impact of their actions, how is it? It takes time. And since it takes time, especially something like rebuilding forests as you said, in the south of
Yeah.
and we hear about Amazon forests. A lot of
Yes.
them,
Yes.
getting.
It was so, the conference was held in the Amazon rainforest. I had a chance to go there. Yes. And well, near the Amazon rainforest, it was so important because, as per statistics, by 2100, all the rainforests will be gone.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it is important that we see what is happening and accordingly we work on it, because we are also in this era of technological shifts, right? So many new technologies, we have AI coming in. I personally work on that. But we need to still be connected to nature and see how can we harness these solutions to work with nature instead of against it.
Correct. And here is where, how, to see a person like you who has been part of these talks and negotiations and discussions, and to see you come out and do your bit. So, yeah, to see a person, a young person like that you've been part of the negotiations and seeing that and seeing part of discussions and coming back and creating impact, creating the awareness for people around, even for us, there is a lot of hope. Because, and we see that, okay, our future is in good hands, and that something is happening. Because not, and as we spoke, it'll take few years, a decade or two, to see the actual impact of the actions that are being taken
Yes.
today. But to hear a person who's been there to say, yes, something is happening, we are working on it, we are working towards it, and we are trying to create that change and create that impact, is actually very, very motivating and inspiring for the rest of us. And yeah, Amazon rainforest, as you were saying, it's it was like,
Yeah.
when I heard about it and heard the statistics, it was like crazy. It was scary because so many things, and you've written a book on Great Barrier Reef.
Yes.
And at one point there was a portion which was declared that it
What,
was dead.
yeah, what is frightening is that these statistics, they are no longer about the future. They are happening in the present.
Correct.
Right? Amazon rainforest is so beautiful, it's so remarkable. I mean, 1 in 10 species on Earth live over there.
Correct.
Right? 10% of global biodiversity. But on the other hand, when you read that the portion equivalent to France, portion equivalent to the size of France,
Country, yeah.
has been lost,
Oh my God.
has been deforested, has been degraded. That is definitely worth having a concern about, or whether it is Great Barrier Reef, right? Over here in the book I have written, for that matter, I also added a part which explains young people about the facts, about the statistics, both good and bad, because we need to know reality and also have hope. That, around 50% of the coral reef of Great Barrier Reef has been lost.
Correct.
Around 50%, an area larger than England. So it puts things into perspective, it increases the urgency, but it does not mean that we lose hope.
Yes.
It means that we take more responsibility and work faster. I was just a few weeks or 2-3 weeks ago in Paris at the Change Now Summit, the world's largest event for solution of the planet, as the youngest speaker over there, with more than 40,000 people from around the world in different fields, entrepreneurs, economists, speakers, environmentalists, coming together in these discussions. And my book was also there over there. It was a beautiful success. People from all around the world being a part of Mission 10 Million Trees and connecting this to children all across. I mean, this is a shout out to even all the parents listening, or whether you have a niece or a nephew or someone or your inner child. We should read about this. I mean, we, especially as Indians, spend so much time in entertainment. We need to spend time in entertainment related to nature, and I think storybooks are the best way to do that.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because I've, I, in fact, today morning I saw a post by Richard Branson, and he had this beautiful video of a whale swimming along with dolphins.
Oh,
And the whole topic was around how over the years, people working towards conservation of whales,
yes.
and to see that impact now,
Yes.
and how the population has improved and has grown. And actually, there are quite a few species that we have worked towards
Bringing back.
and where we have revived, taken them from that endangered species and brought up. So I guess there is a lot of hope, and there is a lot of, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and something that we can work towards. But what is most important is having the awareness and working towards it.
Yeah.
That is what is very important, because for a person to think, oh, me throwing this trash or me throwing this one water bottle into on the road or in the water or into the ocean, it doesn't make a difference, but it does.
It
Even
does.
that one single piece of plastic can make a big difference, or one piece of the trash or whatever they can do, it makes an impact.
And-
because that it's just layered.
Yeah,
right?
it is reciprocal. I mean, if planting one tree can make a difference, throwing one piece of plastic in the wrong place also has its own difference,
Correct.
both negative and positive. It doesn't matter at what magnitude are you doing.
Exactly.
It will have some kind of an impact.
Yes.
Now, whether it is a positive impact or a negative impact, that is something that you choose.
Yes, yes, that's true. So that's what that I think that is one of the takeaways that I want people to have, that it is not what I can do. Even your smallest action can positively or negatively impact nature.
Yes.
And that's what I want people to be aware of. And Prasidi, I just want you to talk a little more about the work that you do with a lot of other young people out there. And you were talking about your internships. How can one apply for it? What are the types of internships? Could you take me through in a little more detail?
So, I have an initiative called the Green Pillar, which is an organization focused on providing opportunities and green skills for young people, whether they're youth, university students, school students, or corporates. and ensuring that climate education and this big wave, the next wave is not blue collar or white collar, it's green collar. And this has been proven through reports by the World Economic Forum and many recognized media outlets as well, who claim that green skills is the future. And I want to ensure that young people are equipped for that. So, through the Green Pillar, we create climate education courses with experts from around the world, such as the Climate Literacy Master Course, which focuses on explaining you from the very basic fundamental difference in weather change and climate change, which most people don't know, to explaining about what net zero is, what environmental footprint is, how can you include it. You're into manufacturing, or you are into finance, or you are into accounts. How does this, or architecture, or fashion for that matter, or food, sustainability is everywhere. It has become this add-on in everything, and it will continue to only increase. So this is what is there. And then there are internships for different colleges and schools in different forms. Obviously it's simplified for schools, but like we have 360-degree green internship, where you learn about different skills related to sustainability, about how can you harness the wave of green careers, what are the different factors involved, like ESG for instance, and experts who tell you about that. And then you have smaller projects that you work on with different kind of people. Then we also have courses online which individuals can take or schools can take, or you can simply go and register and be a part of them. And then for younger students, we have workshops and such activities to make them a part of it. But more importantly, I also created my own AI platform, because I was appointed as UNICEF India Youth Advocate. I am currently serving as UNICEF India Youth Advocate for gender, climate, and livelihoods, and for young people as the youngest one for India. It is important that young people get all the resources that they can. So in AI, I built a platform called greenbuzzai.com, greenbuzzz.com. When you go over here on greenbuzzai.com, simply search or do a Google or go on my page. Over there, it is designed for young students out of experience. When I saw that everyone is kind of, as young people, trying to decide what do they want to do in the future, they don't know what they want to do in the future. But we are a very conscious generation. As Gen Alpha, we're growing as very conscious people, because we are seeing the effects, that ripple effect of the wrong decisions that we took. Right? We are seeing it firsthand, what it is doing to our planet, what it is doing to our future. So we want to somehow deep down do something for the planet, something green, but we don't know how can we turn it into a career that will also give money. So the idea behind this was that through very simple questions using AI, they go on the platform, they answer a few questions, and then you get this green buzz path, this green career path. It tells you why it fits and gives you 3 simple steps on how can you work towards this career path now. The idea is to get young people to know about the green careers out there. Because when you talk about sustainability, they think it's only tree plantation or picking up waste, but it is so much more. Now people are building career in circular economy, in climate content creation, in sustainable fashion, even in skincare for that matter. I mean, how you build something that's good for the skin and good for the planet, right? Maybe they can become a scientist in such a field. Maybe they can associate coding with this, green software engineer or green AI developer. So giving them these ideas, and at first it was a very simple thought, but then I built it into an AI platform, and it worked so well. The India AI Impact Summit, which happened recently in New Delhi in Bharat Mandapam, I'm sure you're aware. So over there, as a UNICEF India Youth Advocate, I delivered the opening children and youth address at that forum, which was incredibly powerful in a beautiful, wonderful opportunity. What was more incredible was at that same time, I also launched my AI platform, and it has been widely loved by young people across 15 countries. I even received messages saying that, from people, from friends or other people around the world, young people, that I didn't know what I would do. I wanted to do something for the earth, and I got the answer: environmental UX designer. She was passionate about art, and she said, I didn't know something like this existed.
Environmental UX designer. I'd
Yeah.
like to know more about that. Even I didn't think I
Yeah, basically. Or else there was this ESG specialist, which a friend of mine got. Or I received even anonymous DMs and emails telling me, college student, that this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a wildlife photographer, or I wanted to build a career in, I think one of them got carbon accounting. And he was preparing for his college, and he wanted to choose the stream of finance.
Yeah.
So this is so interesting, and I think it is powerful when young people get such directions. And yeah, and
You wouldn't think finance and environment
has anything to do.
anything to do with.
But now, because there are these fields and people are working in them, but it's not popular, right? Now, you would have seen in the news, right? There are these right now about CBAM and carbon accounting. A lot of discussion is going on in the news. India adopting such different policies, carbon credits, things like that. Yes. So it has a lot to do with carbon accounting. Young people should know the opportunities that are out there. That is the whole idea.
100%, because of course, from the time we grew up to the time, even like few years ago, and there like so much that has changed. And now with the environment being the focus across the world, and
Yes.
everyone talking about sustainability, and knowing about these career paths, because as you said, it's not just raising funds, or you're doing it as a social, as a CSR activity, but it can be a financially lucrative opportunity too, because
Exactly.
when you could make a career out of it and also support the environment, then that's the best of both worlds, that you earn and you're
You're
also doing
conscious,
something. You're
yes.
also contributing to the humanity,
Absolutely.
nature. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's so important, and it's very, very exciting
Yeah.
to hear that. And
Right now, two most big things that are going on. One is about environment, and other is about AI. Right?
Correct.
Both of them are very large, and young people are deeply involved in both of them. In AI, it has its own. I mean, I'd be happy to talk about, but it has its own good and bad,
Yes.
right? Which is interesting, and I've been talking about that recently. But harnessing both sides of the world.
yeah, because with AI, good that you brought it, because with AI also, with all the data centers and everything that requires the power, that it requires, the fuel, there's like so much talk which happens for what happens behind AI.
Yes.
Like what we see is only on our gadgets and what we
Yes.
use, but what goes behind the scenes also has a huge impact on the environment.
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
AI, I think, has a very interesting perspective. And I would say it has a very fine line, right? It also comes with its own silver lining. But the fact that on one hand AI gives us the ability to come up with so many new solutions, so many new ideas, work so fast, get effective solutions, and on the other hand, obviously, what it is doing both to our brains and to our planet.
Yes.
Planet, for instance, the fresh water which it is using, the environmental impact which it is having on the planet is huge. Especially, as you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned the data centers,
Yes.
which are the biggest reason. There have been reports that regions around the data centers of these large AI companies, I won't name, but of these large AI companies, have had groundwater issues. Right? These are things you would see in dystopian movies,
Yes.
but this is becoming a reality.
Correct.
And on the other hand, when we talk about brain, especially children,
Yeah.
because as Gen Alpha, we are the first generation who is born with AI in our hands,
Correct.
right? Who is born with intelligence that is not human,
Yes.
artificial intelligence, but we are still using that. But what we should also realize is we have AI in our hands and we have world crisis at our doorstep. How can we bridge both of them?
Correct.
Now, if you think, this is what I spoke about in my remarks at the AI Impact Summit in New Delhi in Bharat Mandapam, that if you think children, young people can use AI only for writing their homework, that is because that is the only option you have given us.
Yes.
AI is something interesting. As explorers, as curious people, we want to use it.
Correct.
Now, if the only thing we have is homework, we will use it in that. But if you give us other opportunities, such as building solutions, if you believe us, if you provide us with the resources, the incubation to other young people, then we can use AI in so many ways. In climate, it can help us. It can help us identify tipping points about different things. It can help us work on so many new solutions. But certainly also the fact that it is taking jobs, how it is making things so easy that we are becoming over reliant. So it has its own.
Yeah, it has its own positives and negatives. Yeah, for kids, we are saying only homework and all that, but I guess that is to ensure that the critical thinking
Yes.
and all that, those are
Yes.
also built, because for adults, we have gone through traditional
Yes.
schools where we had to think, we had to have, we didn't have even computers. Like I didn't have computers when I was growing up, only in college. It was then we had these bigger ones and we had access. I wouldn't say there were no computers, I would say access to computers.
Yeah.
And then when we went to
Maybe the solution is giving side opportunities for us to use AI in other ways, in better ways,
yeah.
right? Because we are a very tech savvy generation, right? Now we can do so much with just a single prompt. So if we are given these tools which we are already learning and the problems in our hands, we can find the solutions for it. A lot of us already are in our own ways.
Correct.
Maybe giving us that empowerment is what is needed, and that is something I'm really trying to do through some of my projects and initiatives.
Actually, here I'm putting on the parent cap. I'm talking about it. While yes, AI is important, and especially for children, not for children, for everyone. In fact, for adults, entrepreneurs, we use AI a lot in simplifying to get back some time and to improving our efficiency, and for analytics, and so much we use AI
Constantly.
a lot in our work. At the same time, for the children, why maybe there is a restriction depending on the age, is also that not every child would know what to use it for,
Absolutely.
and for the child to first have the critical thinking, creative thinking skills,
Yes.
to build those muscles first, and even to an extent where I would say the art form, the written art is getting, that is an art form, like writing, taking notes.
Yes.
That is going into, that's going
Typing.
away to typing. But there is a certain, the very act of writing down, putting your thoughts into words has a power to, it creates a separate neural network in the brain, and that is very, very important. Like, the motor, the fine motor skills and the gross motor skills, and everything has an impact. So that's why I think the restriction, there are a lot more restrictions for kids.
I think
But
restriction is right.
yeah, but there has to be a balance.
Yes.
At which age it's going to be brought in, that's something that we'll have to see, because as you said, you are you are the generation which is like born with AI in your hands, and AI is still new,
Yeah.
and we don't know what the impact it has on the
Yeah.
brains of children. So that could be one of the reasons where there are so many restrictions, because there is also where there are like Gen Zs. There are so many where every generation is smarter than the previous generation, but the current generation there is a kind of I wouldn't say they are not smart, but then there is not
No, I understand.
Gen Zs here who are slightly
No, I understand.
I mean, there is a research. There are researches and studies that go about it. So I guess it's something that we need to look into it.
The biggest thing, no, I agree absolutely with all the points that you said, but the biggest thing is remembering AI is a tool.
Yes,
AI is a tool. AI is not our brain.
correct.
The moment we shut it off to being a tool, I think we remain smart. But the moment we let it do things for us, take decisions for us, then so in AI you have the memory, right? The memory where it feeds on what you give it and what is there around the world. The moment it starts thinking the way you do, takes decisions the way you do, it won't need you anymore.
Correct.
This is the very big fear that all of us have when we talk about AI. But if we start thinking about it as a tool and nothing more than that, I think that is more than enough. And also AI literacy for young people, because AI is something very interesting. It puts everything on our fingertips. So AI literacy, that how to use it, what to believe, what not to believe.
Because there are AI
Yes,
hallucinations.
yes,
Yeah.
hallucinations. What is right? Because AI feeds on uh, the database which it has, right?
Yes.
And on the algorithm that it has. But if the algorithm and the database itself is biased,
Correct.
then what are we learning?
Correct.
We are learning the wrong information. So that is definitely incredibly important about AI literacy. I agree with your parent cap, but
In fact, I have to just add here that the clarity that you have to say AI is a tool, I have many adults that I have come across who use AI regularly. They don't have the maturity that you have. So for us, I would say like not many children, I wouldn't say, leave alone children, even adults don't have the maturity to say AI is just a tool. There are a lot of adults who I've come across that who just
maybe AI makes
depend
it
so
so
much on
easy.
AI.
No, it's like the shortcut to do everything.
Yeah.
To save time, but in the long run you're giving it its brain, your brain. But I do feel that AI has so many solutions that it can give us, so many opportunities. It has done so much good. We are looking at it constantly from a negative perspective.
Yes.
But what AI has had to offer, the solutions that it has given, the changes that it has made to our world and provided us with new opportunities, I think that is huge. In the field of environment itself, what AI has done, it has helped track the trajectories of biodiversity, help us understand about statistics, about facts, help us interpret so much of the data and work on solutions according to that, come up with new innovations based on that. So I think if we have sufficient safeguards, that should definitely do it.
100%. See, AI is the future. There is
Yeah.
no two ways about it, no shunning it and no demonizing it. It's like two sides of a coin. You
Yeah.
can't just say everything positive or everything negative. We need to know, understand them, and balance it
Yeah.
and use it for the best way we can.
Yes.
So there is no point, I think, in just being scared of AI. And jobs, I think it's like saying calculators at one point where people were scared that once calculators come,
Human calculators
yeah,
and
then, that people would lose jobs, and or when computers came, then they were like people would lose jobs. Then now that AI has come, people would lose jobs. I would say it is more like we have to adapt, and there are certain things that humans
Yes.
can only do,
Yes.
and not AI. And it is just for us to become smarter. And
I was listening to this interview of Sam Altman of OpenAI, and he was saying that the next big skill
Yes.
is going to be adaptability. It is not
Exactly.
going to be coding. It is not going to be AI prompting solutions. I mean, it is going to be adaptability, because adaptability and empathy are the two things AI will not have. And the more adaptable, empathy is something AI will not have, but the more adaptable we are, the more fast we are at learning, the better we will be at switching our fields. So now it is not going to be about one particular thing, but how many different things are we good at and how many different things can we do. And yeah, if you look at my day is full of a lot of different kinds of things. So
in fact, that was my. I was going to lead to that.
Okay.
That how what do you do at 13, doing so much, representing India, taking up such positions, and in UNICEF, the youth leader, and so many things. You wear so many different hats, and what is your day-to-day routine like?
That is a good question. Well, I if I give you like it's very interesting because I travel a lot. So often in my week, sometimes I'm on the plane a lot and or somewhere, and my routine keeps shifting. But on a normal day, generally, when I don't have school because I'm also a school going girl. We'll come to that, but apart from going to school, I like to wake up at 4 in the morning, which is yeah, I did not trust myself a few years ago probably to wake up at 4. For me 6 was like it's good. But gradually the more things I added into my work, I felt the need to make the day longer. Waking up at 4, and often I also wake up at 4 because of my time zones. I have to do meetings and I have things to attend to, so that happens in the earlier day. But when I wake at 4, probably spending a little bit of time outside in my garden in nature, just looking and breathing the fresh air and reminding myself that this is what I'm working towards and this is what we need, that the future generations continue to have the fresh air, clean water, green spaces that we are blessed to live in. And then go on, do a little bit of mantra chanting, because from since the age of 2, I have been mantra dikshit from Swami Niranjananand Saraswati, who is Padma Bhushan awarded, from the lineage of Swami Shivananda. Yes. And I go there every year for twice, at least for 15-20 days, to Bihar School of Yoga, to do mantra chanting, to do Havan, and people from around the world come there and disconnect from our very modern world. So do that. And then probably I would say get ready, get to my work, answer some emails, do some meetings if I have any. I have, but at different points of times, obviously. Then for me, also reading, because I like the news. I'm very fond of geopolitics. So reading the newspaper or the magazine, Economist, whatever is there at that point of time. Also spending some time learning about new concepts. I love reading books, whether they are fiction, whether they are about ecology, about geopolitics. Spending some time reading, because constantly on screen is not a very great thing. Then also giving time to all my different initiatives, because for instance, if that day is a plantation day, then I'm out in the field or planning for the plantation. If we are working on a new course or a new program on the website or something like that, then preparing for that, working on my AI platform, and also doing the content creation parts, which is important, for social media. Then more importantly, a lot of other things, sometimes also just to get away, singing, dancing, painting, listening to music, everything is part of my daily routine. And then there's traveling. So this is what it generally looks like, and studying, obviously.
I
Yes.
was just thinking, I had to keep reminding myself with all this long list of things that you did. I mean, you do every day. I was like, there are 24 hours. A day. I was trying to say, okay, how many, and then I lost count. And I had to remind myself that she's 13 years old. Not an adult. She's still a kid, 13 years old, doing so much. And so, when do you go to sleep? You said you wake up at 4. What time do you go to bed?
Well, what time I like? Well, my goal every day is to go to bed at 9:30.
Yeah.
But for instance, if I have the event the next day, and a lot of the times I was doing something else, I couldn't prepare it all. Or if I have exams next day, or travel and I didn't pack it all, then sometimes it gets pretty late also, 12 or 1.
Yeah.
But I try to sleep by 10:30.
So, two things again as a mom. No, because if you wake up at 4, I'm just imagining your parents also waking up around that time. Are they early morning people, or did you make them early morning people?
I thankfully I have the genes of both.
Okay.
Yeah, one is a night person, another is a morning person. So I am both. I like to stay up late. I also like to wake up early.
And again, as a school going child, I'm intentionally saying the word child for people to remember your thought.
I am a child. Yes.
And you are a child.
Exactly.
And school, because there's so much you're talking about, and I'm like, what is she actually learning? Is she going and teaching in school? What is she learning in school? So, how do you work around your school? How does that work?
School, I go to school, regular school. People ask me, do you still go to school? And I think,
Like in-person school.
yeah, yeah, don't worry.
No, because I because we have spoken to so many
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
who pursue their passions, different passions. It could be martial arts or badminton or any sport, and some of them have chosen online school because that kind of helps them with
Yeah.
their training.
I
So
go
that's
to,
why I just wanted
yes,
to ask you,
I
is
go
it in
to,
person or online? Yeah.
I go to regular school and in-person school. I go, I sit, I write the exam from my hands. Um, and I like to keep both the worlds very different. So when I go to school, I mean, I don't prefer to talk about my work or to share a lot about this. I mean, they get to know because of the news and all of these things. But generally, I don't mix both of them. I go like, I like to sit there and be there as a student and learn from the teacher. And whenever I go, be as focused as possible, because naturally, because of what I do, my attendance is generally not very great.
Which I think
So
the school would understand.
yes,
There will be
but
some.
I love studying. I love education. I chose to continue my schooling because I think that it is important. I know some basic things, right?
100%, it's
At
very,
least
very important.
until the 10th grade, everything we learn, we use in our life. Whether it is science, whether it is math. I am particularly fond of social science. I have these self mandates. My parents don't tell me, but I have a self mandate. I need to get full marks in social science and science. And thankfully, since the beginning, since my first second, I've been scoring very well in school. And even I had my final examination a few months ago, and I got A plus in all my subjects,
Wow.
full marks in science, in AI, and in social science, in social studies. Because also my work is so connected, right? In science, then technically, and social, we are studying.
And with AI also.
Yeah, AI also.
Initiatives.
In social science, we're studying about a lot of historical events. I'm particularly interested in them. And then maybe they're talking about World War, and I got to go to Austria, literally where World War One, because of
Yeah.
the shot of the prince, because of which it started. So when everything is so connected, I get to meet the people from the different countries about whom we are probably studying or learning. It connects. And my schedule, obviously, whether I am in a plane, I am studying, I finish one science chapter, and then I'm in the car and I finish a geography chapter, and waking up early in the morning, I generally keep that time for studying, because that time there is no emails, no calls, no nothing. It's just me and my book and studying. So yes, that is how I balance.
So with your parents, I would think that they don't have to tell you to study, but in fact, I feel they might come and tell you to, like, you know what, take a break slow down once in a way.
So I am very yeah, I am very grateful to my parents, because I am so good at the work that I do, but I forget to eat and sleep
Yeah,
and
exactly.
drink and that way, and also ensuring that the goals that I take, I am able to do them and I continue to do them. I'm definitely very, very grateful to my
Because I was just
parents.
thinking, as a mom, I would tell, and I was just thinking, like, your mom might come and tell you, like, you know what, just sit down, eat. Now it's okay. You've done this, you've done that, you're doing, you have it, you know. Now sit and eat.
Yes,
Your
yes,
meal.
yes.
I'm sure she does that. And, your parents, like,
Yes.
might be reminding you to just take that break also.
Of
So,
course,
yeah,
of
so
course.
that's really great. And I know you've said you don't talk about this with your, in school, but definitely your friends know about what you're doing. Your teachers know about it.
Yes.
So, how is it? Are they curious? Do they keep asking you, even though you want to segregate the two? How is it? Because it's not always possible, right?
Yes. I also feel I have a wonderful school. You know, my teachers, they're very supportive in terms of the notes. My friends are more supportive. I ask them three, four times for the same notes. Um, and they understand. You know, I have been doing this since the beginning, and even my friends have seen my journey gradually, how it has been growing, how it has been happening. And they have also learned that I don't prefer to talk about my work. But a lot of them also got inspired from my work, because initially, even now, I am generally the girl, when I was in play school, I will be rolled up in the soil, and then no matter how many times they change my clothes, I will have hay in my hair or pebbles in my pocket and everything. And my friends would be, "What is wrong with her? What is wrong with Prasiddhi?" But I continued doing, and initially they didn't join me when I was creating my community nursery, but they saw that I convinced someone to get land. I got my saplings. I'm doing this. They joined my first plantation, and gradually, more, it continued furthermore. And I have friends around the world, because of my work.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of them are twice my age, thrice my age, but connecting on different topics. Friends also the same age that I am across different parts of the world, but connecting with them and talking to them. And now a lot of people have also gotten inspired from what I do and taken their own initiatives and joined in my mission. In that way, I think, I have been trying to put both of them together and balance that. And they do ask me questions.
Yeah.
Of course, they ask me questions, and I share it with them. I simplify and share it with them, but it is important because that is why I am going to these forums,
Yes.
so that they are represented,
Correct.
which makes it very important to know what they think, what they feel, what are they talking about, what do they want to show over there, so I can be a mirror for that at these forums.
I'm also quite cognizant of the time.
Of course.
So,
We can get flowed away in the conversation.
I mean, I'm completely, I didn't even look at it. So, Prasiddhi, just taking a step back, because for a kid, teen, even for an adult, when we see you speak, you're so confident, you're so eloquent, and
Thank you so much.
your the clarity of thought that you have. Even the first conversation I had with you, I was like, wow, I want to start talking like her.
No, no.
I want to talk so confidently. That's what I was thinking. I came out of the Zoom call and looked at my team, and I was like, I mean, I didn't know what sense to say, but to say like, I want to grow up to be like her.
No, I'm humbled.
Talk as confidently, as eloquently as her. So, and the reason I'm asking this is to, many times we look at these amazing Olympic athletes and these great change makers and people like you, the great change makers, and what we think, it's just human nature to say, no, they are special, they have these skills, so they can do it. And it is actually an excuse that we give ourselves, and I'm talking about it from my personal experience too. For most time, for most part of my life, like being a homemaker and doing whatever I did, and while I wanted to start something, I would always say, no, I don't have pedigree education, I don't have pedigree work experience, so I'm not starting. Till I actually took that first step, and building Tikitoro. And for other kids, teens, and for even adults looking, I want to break this myth that you have, it is not like all genetic, and it is not all like, someone is special, they are born this way, they are confident this way, and that is why they are able to do it. But to say that if we put in the time, effort, and energy, all of us can do something, and all of us can live up to our best potential. So, for this, I want to ask you, have there been any moments where you felt overwhelmed? You felt like to say that I am scared, or to go in this global forum at 10 at UN to say and address these audience of world leaders. And have you ever felt in any of the forums at any time where you didn't feel confident, you felt overwhelmed, you felt scared? Because I think this is also important for people to say that, this is how I was and this is how I built myself.
I would say that, firstly, thank you so much for all those wonderful things that you said. I think, starting off with my speaking,
Yeah.
I've also evolved in my speaking journey gradually, and I think that for all the I also have inspiration and role models and people I look up to. But everywhere what I've seen, met a lot of them, to be honest, that it is about experience. There is no special thing that happens. It is just about how long and how consistently you do. I mean, you are an inspiring story. You've built a very unique brand. There are so many brands out there of skincare, but you built something for young people. You identified a problem and you're providing a solution, and that is incredibly inspiring. And you started off at some point. You've definitely evolved so much than where you would have started,
Right.
right? And I started speaking when I was 5.
Yes.
I gave my first speech to a group of 500 people when I was only 5 years old.
How did that feel?
So I would say, from 5 to 13 I have been speaking in different formats with different people, with different groups, and I won't say it was perfect every time. Every time, I won't say I have not fumbled on stage. I certainly have. Working on my speeches, working on what I say, from trying to understand what I will say to now just going impromptu and being able to talk to people. But it has always been this journey of constantly learning and constantly evolving to do what I want to do and to be able to speak this well. And I think that is what I want to say to all the other young people as well, right? That you just need to start, but you can't say I can't do this because of this or that. If you look for excuses, they will never end. You simply need to start regardless of whatever situation you are in, whatever you are thinking, whatever you are doing, and then gradually from there it continues to work and it continues to build.
So it
And
doesn't. Don't they shouldn't wait for a perfect start. They
yeah,
have to just start
because
wherever they are.
there is no perfect start. If you look for it, it won't happen in the first place. And whether it is about feeling overwhelmed, I think I I won't say I haven't felt overwhelmed, or I'm some superhero, but something
Well,
that
you are in certain form, different form, but you definitely
thank you.
are. But
But
yeah, let's talk about those.
but something that my grandpa, I really look up to my nanu, my grandfather. Something that he always says is that fear is just this emotion. Fear is something that you build in your brain. It's not real, you know. And when you are doing it out of passion, I never started my work so I would become a good speaker, or I would end up at a podcast like this, or I would end up on different TEDx or different forums, or speaking to people, becoming an author of 2 books, becoming an AI builder, a person with a following on different social media platforms. I did it, and I still do it only because I want to give back to my green tree friends. And when you have a cause, when you have a passion, and when you go out there and literally you don't need to memorize anything because you're telling people what you did and what you believe in and what you've read. I think in such situations, when you've read something, when you believe, or when you do something, there is no reason for you to be overwhelmed when you go out there and when you speak to these people. So, as long as it is about passion and you are passionate,
Authentic to what you
yes,
are, and
I think passion is the answer. Passion with purpose is the answer to almost all the questions that you ask me, whether it is about time and schedule. I have the same 24 hours that all of us have. And I think time is like this, our capacity is like this rubber band, our timetable is like this rubber band. If we think we can only do this, we'll only do that. But when you're passionate enough, you find time to do other things,
yes,
right? But what is it that you are passionate about is what matters. I was passionate about making a difference, building a project, building an initiative that helps the world, helps other people. So I found out time for that alongside my schooling. Or whether it is this passion that I have, which helped me learn so many different things. But it was only because I had a purpose. Most of the times, that passion is related to something materialistic or something that is only for ourselves. When you start doing it for other people, I've seen and I felt other people supporting me, nature supporting me, and the blessings which has definitely helped me in my journey.
true, true. I mean, what you said, everything. Start where you are. Don't wait for the
Yes,
perfect start. And experience is what gives you that confidence, and teaches you, and it becomes better. The
absolutely.
consistency, being consistent, That is so important. It's not like one off here, one off there, and
Yeah.
you don't build that muscle. You do it regularly every day. Then that helps you build that confidence, the muscle. And then, as you said, when you have the passion, when you're being authentically yourself, and when you're following that, then there is no point in, that then the overwhelm doesn't happen, because that passion guides you and it leads you.
Yes.
And what you spoke about, the fear, that fear is just an emotion. And I guess when we look at the fear, when we don't let it consume us, but then actually look at it and ask, okay, what are you? Like, why are you here? And actually, the moment we face our fears, the fear becomes small and we start growing.
And the little butterflies in the stomach is good.
It's good.
It's good. It is what makes us human.
Exactly.
Right?
Otherwise, we'd be AI.
Exactly. Yeah. Practically, very,
Yeah.
very good one.
Yeah.
So practically, I think a little butterflies in the stomach is good because that is what makes us human.
Correct.
And fear is also this energy. If we can channelize that same kind of anger or fear or sadness or happiness or excitement or motivation into something meaningful, into something tangible like a purpose,
Yeah.
that is what gives us
Correct.
that is what has given us
Yeah.
some of the biggest solutions that we have today.
True, true. Either we can work to keep our weaknesses, which we keep, or
Yeah.
we can work to let go and overcome our weaknesses.
Yes.
Either way, we need to put in our work. We can give excuses for either. And that's
Exactly.
what we need to put our energy to. And as you said, if you have that passion, if you want, you could make the 24-hour stretch, or you could make it shrink, depending on, and it's all in our hands.
Yeah.
Actually, this is really empowering to know that whatever we choose to do, whatever impact action that we take, everything is in our hands, actually.
Yeah.
It is not somebody else who came and told you, Prasiddhi, you do this. You took the initiative, you took the action. You're going to school, you're doing your Prasiddhi Forest Foundation. You're addressing the world arenas and the platforms, and you're out there. And it's all been you. It's not your parents coming and thrusting, it's
Exactly.
not somebody else coming and saying. And that's what makes it very empowering for me to say, my life is in my hands, and I can choose to make the difference, and I can choose what I want to do with my life.
Yes.
And I think this is so important for all the youngsters, the children who are listening to this, to say, she took her life in her hands. She is accountable for her life. She is responsible for it, and she has chosen to create an impact with her life. And whatever she has done, it is her doing. That is, it's your actions that have made you this impactful leader that you are.
Yes.
And that's what the youngsters need to learn, that they have the power in their hands. They don't have to wait to
Exactly.
they don't have to wait to grow up to be an adult to make a difference.
Yes.
They can choose to make the difference right now.
Yeah, we are not these leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
We are change makers of today. We have the power to make a difference. And this is why partially I do what I do. I do it for Mother Earth, and then I do it to show other young people that if I can do this at 6, at 7, at 8, at 9, at 10, at 13, then you can also do it.
Yes.
Right? You can definitely do it.
Yes.
And that is what keeps me going, and that is what I'm trying to put across. And it does not mean that you don't have fun or you don't enjoy the journey. I also have a lot of fun.
Yes.
I enjoy the work that I do. I love listening to music, I love traveling, I love food. I mean, if I get into that, I am absolutely
I
yes.
think we could have like a 3-4 hour podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I spend time doing all kinds of creative things, to be honest. Sometimes I don't know, I'm mixing this and that and doing some kind of activity. But at the same time, I'm also dedicated and I do my work and I wake up on time and I do my mantra chanting. I focus on things that I'm doing. I even talk to my friends and spend time and chat, and at the same time have meetings with world leaders. So everything is possible if we have that passion with a purpose. And more importantly, what I started off with, it's not the impact that matters. When we look at a problem, oh, this is so big, or when we take
Look at the big.
inspiration from somebody that, oh, she has done so much or he has done so much, I am so young or so small, or I don't have the resources, or maybe you have the resources, you have everything, but my parents don't let me do it, or I don't have the situation, or I go to school. No, these are just things. When you have the intention, I think that crosses everything. Yes.
One action, one impact. I mean, this is something I want to tell the kids out there and everyone out there, that you don't, let's not even look at the big picture. Can we do that one action? Can we
Yeah.
do that one thing that we can do from wherever we are?
And especially when we do this one thing for other people, for
Yes.
other, I always say this, that take one step towards mother nature and she will come running thousands of steps towards you, right? I have seen how I have built this community, how things have come. I had this idea. I was able to turn it into a reality, but I did not do that alone. I started alone, but whether it was with students or with villagers, with corporates, with other young people, this 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 ideology, and other people who joined me, who supported me in my journey, the schools, the colleges, the farmers, the villagers, the little girls with whom I work. When I give a free fruit sapling to children in rural schools, I have an initiative wherein 200, yeah, 200 rural schools of Tamil Nadu, I'm giving a free fruit sapling to each and every child. So when I give this sapling, when I see the smile on their face, when I see birds, squirrel, biodiversity coming back, greeneriness coming back, there were barren lands of chemical wastelands, dump yards in these corporate areas, and people were like, what will happen, or nothing can be done to this, but I got it cleared, I got the soil redone, and from there I made it into a very beautiful little fruit forest, and children go there and have mini nature treasure hunts. So this is what I think truly matters, that intention, and then nature definitely supports you in your journey, you know. I was 7 years old when in 2021 I received Prime Minister National Child Award from our thank you, from our honorable Prime Minister. And at that time he shared I had only planted, I won't say only, but I had planted 13,000 trees, which is also a huge number. 13,000 trees as a 7-year-old little girl. And he shared three sankalpas with me. The first one was to be regular. Whatever I'm doing, whether it is planting trees, inspiring other young people, working on my mission, continue that. Nirantarta. The second one was to stay to the promise I have made to the nation. If I've taken this goal that I will plant 1 lakh trees, I need to achieve it. This was back then. Now I've taken a goal to plant 10 million trees. I have to achieve it. And the third thing was to stay humble, and I still feel its importance, because if you'll stay humble, you'll never stumble, right? So all of these learnings that I've had, and the different missions, mission 10 million trees, or whether it is about Green Tamil Nadu, Pasumai Tamil Nadu, which I'm working on, all of these different activities, putting that together.
Wow. Thank you, Prasadi. Seriously, I could keep listening to you, and I have so many more questions. Like it's just like you're such an inspiration.
No.
And I've learned so much from you. And as I told you, I've been following your journey, being inspired, and been part of it too. And I would love to continue to be part of it too.
Absolutely.
And
I'm sure we'll have some exciting news for them of Prasiddhi Forest and Tikitoro very soon.
Definitely, we do. And thank you for this.
No.
And this is a huge learning for every single child out there. And what you're doing is such important work. And it is touching so many lives, not just the life, the whole world, and just improving all our lives, and the whole environment for the better. And I wish you all the best. I will continue to follow you and support you in whatever way I can, and whatever way Tiki Toro can, we'll definitely support you through that. And wishing you all the best. Thank you so much once again for being part of this podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be over here and to connect with you, to have this wonderful conversation. It is not every day that you have such wonderful discussions and incredible ideas that come up. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And also to all of you out there, don't just think out of the box, act out of the box. Thank you so much. Namaste.